Welcome to another episode of AfriGO Conversations. We are happy that you've joined us in our episode of February 2022. Here today we have Dr. Andrew Abah, who is a mission school founder. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And you're much welcome. And as we start our conversation today, we would like to know a little more about you, Andrew. Please tell us about yourself, who you are, and how did you get into missions?
Okay, my name is Dr. Andrew Abah. I got born again in 1982. As at that time, if you are a believer, you are a responsible believer. We're raised, we're discipled to be committed to God. So naturally I was, and as part of my commitment, I was involved in evangelism. We go from villages to villages. I was deeply involved in campus evangelism. And through my involvement, I got to a village where almost everybody there were dwarf. The name of the village is Irim, and I was disturbed. Some of them had 7, 8 years old sore, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old widow, and all kind of infirmity. I met only one young lady that looks normal. I invited her for a chat, and I noticed that she was deaf and dumb. I asked the villagers, why are you guys like this? Almost all of you are deformed. And they told me this is the home of witches and wizards. That was the home of witches and wizards. The more number of people they torment in that community, that village, determine their pride. I felt so bad, and I turned to God. I said, God, these are your creatures. Why would you allow all of them to be so deformed? And the Lord told me expressly that it's not his fault. It's the fault of the church. We are supposed to be the light of the world. But because we have hoarded the light, many places are in darkness, including that village called Irim. And the witches and wizards took advantage of the darkness because, like Psalm chapter 74, verse 20 said, the dark places of the earth, they are filled with the habitation of wickedness, of cruelty. I was moved by compassion, and I made a commitment to the Lord that I would like to use the rest of my life to dispel darkness. And gradually, from one level to the other, I was trained, and as a journalist, I used my journalism background to invade some of those places. And at the end of the day, the workload became so much, and I felt God speaking to me, look, my son, you can't combine your secular journalism with this work. So I had to obey God, and that's how I became a full-time missionary.
That's a beautiful story. If you could indulge us a little, how did you initially combine your journalistic skills in the mission field? How did you do that?
Well, the nature of journalism that I practiced is was print journalism. So I go out hunting for stories, and I have the liberty to go out at any time to make sure that I bring in my report at the right time. And I use the opportunity to hunt for stories, and at the same time, I hunt for souls. I remember one day somebody came to the office where I was working and said there's a group of people that were in that state and that they are nude, they are naked, they are uncivilized. And I was so anxious to go and investigate that story, because if they are nude, they are uncivilized, I'm not sure if they have heard the gospel. It was the company that I was working for that sponsored my trip to that jungle. I spent so many days there. I got stories worth 2 pages of a newspaper, but it kindled my vision more because I discovered that these people have not been opportune to hear the gospel. These are the Kemberi people of the north-central Nigeria. I had to mobilize people, and we went there for a weekend of further research. We went there to evangelize them, and today, to the glory of God, we are over 20 churches there. So initially, I was just combining. I used the opportunity of going out to hunt for story, to research into the unreached people group, and to mobilize the church to engage them.
Amazing. As someone who writes stories, and it's particularly missionary stories, that is quite encouraging for me. Maybe I also need to do something more than the writing. Thank you so much, Andrew, for that. You are involved in sending missionaries to such places for a long time. Would you tell us what pitfalls you encountered while in that venture?
Yeah, for 32 years now, we've been involved in pioneering Grace Foundation. Before then, we're involved in jungle evangelism, going to some of those dark places. And when we got some good converts, we contacted mission agencies that will help us handle, and they were not interested in handling them because they felt they have their own goal, they have their own passion, they have places in their heart that they wanted to concentrate. And we couldn't allow these converts to waste away because it's not enough for them to be converted, they have to be discipled. So we engaged, began to mobilize churches and groups, and some people responded, they want to go, but under which platform? No platform. So God laid the burden on our heart to start Grace Foundation Inland Missions, and we're recruiting missionaries, we're sending them. Unfortunately, a lot of them, though, they go there with zeal and they do great exploits, but they end up using their hand to destroy the results that they get because they were not trained. So the greatest mistake we made at the onset was sending missionaries that were not trained.
And after a long time doing that, you founded a mission school. Is that something that motivated that? And what more could you tell us about that?
That's exactly what motivated it, because we noticed that if you send missionaries, some of them, they had background in theology, not that they did not go to Bible school, but they don't know the basic of cross-cultural missions, what it means to work among unreached people group, the power encounter that is involved, cross-cultural communications, and so many things that are not taught in theological institutes. So at the end of the day, some go with zeal and they become prey. And that motivated us. We felt that we should have something that we will emphasize on these things that the traditional seminaries do not emphasize on. And that motivated us to start the mission training. It initially was 6 months, but we couldn't cover much within 6 months. So we increased it to 12 months. And even that 12 months is not enough, but we're in a hurry to send people to the field. So we still concentrate on the 12 months, but very intensive, very, very intensive. And within this 12 months, they go out twice to the mission field and for their internship for two months, that's 4 months. Then we spend the rest 8 months to deal with some very key critical issues that we felt they need to know so as to sharpen them to be effective and to get faster results and enduring results on the mission field.
That's amazing. And you mentioned before that you would have missionaries in the field who would go up and mess up the work that has already been done there. What difference did you see in the missionaries you sent after the mission school? What difference did you see?
A huge difference. For example, a young man with a theological degree that we sent him and his wife to go and work among the Cambry. In 3 years, he planted 7 churches. He did excellently well. But the 4th year, he began to mess up. And most of these churches closed down. But now, we don't go out for jamboree. And because we take time to develop people's character, not just the charisma, when they go out and they get results, the results abide. So that's the huge difference. Not destroying what they have used their hand to build.
That's amazing. It's amazing to hear a story of someone who planted 7 churches. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Where is the place of training in missions, in your opinion? Because you've already mentioned issues where missionaries are not being trained and some that have been trained. Where would you say is a place of training in missions?
Mission training is principal. In fact, I don't advise that any missionary should go to the field without being trained. The landscape of mission has become so complex now than ever before. Besides the fact that they will go to the field like an axe that is crude, that is not sharpened, and it will take them years to get results, their life will be in danger. But when they go through, when a missionary, a prospective missionary, go through mission training, he's not only sharpened to be able to get very good results and get it at a very good time, but the character will be able to sustain the work. And the life of that missionary will not be a prey. The level of power encounter on the mission field today is unparalleled. And even where they teach spiritual warfare and teach some basic power encounter, they don't focus on the context of the unreached people group, which is very, very severe. So, but when it is mission training, all these things will be taken care of. It will be dealt with. So any missionary who goes to mess up, that missionary just chooses to mess up, but that missionary had been trained. He knows the implication of messing up. He knows what is involved in power encounter and every other details that is contained in the curriculum for mission training.
That's great. And when you talk about what is involved in the curriculum for power training, what kind of training do missionaries need the most?
Well, the missionary need both the theological training because they need to know God. Then they also need to have an in-depth knowledge of missions. They have to be involved in evangelism, and not just evangelism, cross-cultural evangelism. Evangelism without discipleship is virtually zero. Jesus did not send us to go and make converts. He said, go and make disciples of all nations. They have to be taught the skills. And there are many other things that are involved. For example, you don't go to a people group as a missionary, a cross-cultural missionary, by the way, and stay there 5 years and you are preaching through an interpreter. So subjects like language acquisition technique is not taken serious in other schools. But at the School of Mission, we take it very seriously. And every missionary is expected to learn the language of the people they have gone to reach out to. And a number of other things that I had mentioned earlier, like spiritual warfare, they have to be taught. They have to learn it. They have to practice it even from the School of Missions. And these are many other things are the things that we focus on.
That's wonderful. And one of those things is cross-cultural training. I'm sure you train that in your school. Why do missionaries badly need cross-cultural training?
The culture where you are coming from is not exactly the same as the culture where you are going to. If it is cross-cultural mission, if it is cross-cultural mission, you are crossing culture. There are many things involved. There's what we call culture shock. You may get to a place where their culture is completely different from yours, and you can get shocked, just as electric normally shock people. For example, you get to a place where they offer you their wife as kola nut to sleep with for entertainment, just to receive you. How do you respond to those kind of culture? And to even understand the scripture very well, the evangelism, the messages that you are preaching, you needed to know the culture of the other people. For example, in some places, when you say you are knocking at the door, Jesus is knocking at the door. If you can open your door, Jesus will come in. It's only armed robbers that knocks at the door in such culture. So if you don't learn the culture of you are only presenting Jesus as an armed robber. There are places where you talk of bread of life. They don't know what is bread. They know other food stuff that are basic food stuff. If you don't learn the culture of the people and you begin to speak bread of life, they are listening, but they don't understand what you're talking about. There was a particular context where somebody was trying to portray Judas Iscariot to be very, very bad because of the way he betrayed Jesus. You can't believe that the community preferred to embrace Judas Iscariot because Judas Iscariot was a very brave and clever and intelligent person to have been able to betray his master. So if you understand the background, the cultural background of the people, you will know what to emphasize on and what not to emphasize on. If you emphasize on the wrong thing, you get wrong results. That's why cross-cultural training is very critical.
That's amazing, and it's hilarious when you talk about the Judas Iscariot example. It is really good if you're a missionary and you're going to reach out cross-culturally, that you understand the culture that you're going to. If you're joining us now, we are talking to Dr. Andrew Abah, who is a missionary, a missions trainer, and also a mission school founder. There is a lot of wisdom flying in here today. Thank you so much for that, Andrew. In your mission school, do you make your own list of the curriculum, or do you adapt from other sources, and what sources are those?
Yes, we adapt from other sources, but as year goes on, there are quite a lot of issues that we come at. We're not just mission trainers, we are mission senders. So our experiences at the mission field makes us to develop additional curriculum beside what we adapt from existing School of Missions. For example, we're talking of security issue now. I'm sure you are familiar with all the insecurity in Nigeria and so many parts of it. It was not in existence. We don't have security issues in mission curriculum before. Now we have to introduce them so that our missionaries will keep safe, and then we teach their converts how to keep safe. And then we know when to withdraw from the field and when not to withdraw from the field. There are issues of trauma that is aggravating on a daily basis. We are bringing trauma management as part and parcel of our curriculum, which was not there before. Then we're talking of focusing on some of the places that traditionally we don't focus on, like the Arabian Peninsula and many other closed nations. So we have to discuss techniques, plans, and activities that can be carried out in such places so that we don't refer to them as closed and they remain closed forever. So some of these evolving issues is causing us to develop on the existing curriculum. We adapted, or we also added.
That's amazing. And for a missions agency that is planning or is already sending missionaries, what advice would you give them as someone who has been training and sending missionaries for a long time?
Yeah, the first thing I will advise them is they should not make the mistake we made at the onset. It was one Mr. Olarotimi who says that if the frog in the front falls into a pit, the frog that follows take caution. It is deadly to send missionaries without mission training. If they cannot set up their own school of missions, ours, for example, is interdenominational. We have trainees from different ministries that come to be trained. And when they finish their training, we send them back to their organizations. If they don't have a mission training wing, they can patronize us, our other mission training agencies that are available. But they dare not make mistake. No matter how hurried they are, they dare not make mistake of sending missionaries to the field without mission training. It's like sending a soldier to the battlefront without military training. You are sending the soldier to go and die.
That's really deep. If you're sending missionaries to the mission field without training, it's like sending soldiers to the battlefield without training. You are sending them there to go die. That is very, very deep. Thank you so much, Dr. Andrew. And now I'm thinking about someone who has had maybe the experience that you had before you started the mission school. And now they're thinking, I think I need a mission school in my community. What advice would you give them about starting a mission school?
I will advise that they send some of their leaders to come and go through the training that we or other existing mission group offers. Because you need to be trained to be able to train others. There are a lot of mission leaders that are not trained. A lot, sorry to use the word, armchair mission leaders. The issue of mission training is not just an academic exercise. It goes beyond academics. So if they have a taste of it, they know what is involved, it is easier to pass it on. Otherwise, the letter killeth, the spirit gives life. They will end up doing something mechanical that will not yield any results. And that's why for Jesus to send out the 12, he invited them, I think in Mark chapter 3 or thereabout or 4. And he said the first assignment is to be with him, not even to preach, not to cast out devil, but to be with him. So I will advise anybody, any group that wants to set up a training unit, let the key leaders themselves enroll and let them be trained. If they cannot afford to spend 12 calendar months, there are other short-term trainings that they can embark upon, like the Advanced Mission Leadership Program that we run. Some people attend in modules. By the time they spend some weeks this year, they spend another additional week the following year. By the time they combine all the modules that they will be able to fit in. We run also what we call, we partner with the Canadian organization in South Africa, and we run what we call mission exposures and training. It's specifically for church leaders and mission leaders. For those who have not had the experience of mission training, all these opportunities are available for them. But you cannot give out what you don't have. The worst is that if they can't go, they should send people that will come and attend the training so that they can as well serve as catalysts in the organization.
That's amazing. I'm happy that you mentioned that they can come and have training to serve as catalysts in their community and in their missions. And I'm thinking, as Africans, you know, we are always looking for uniquely African training, training that is for Africans by Africans. If somebody wanted to collaborate with you, how would they reach you? How can they contact you?
They can contact me on phone, on Gmail, on my email, on WhatsApp, on every platform that is available now. We try to improve ourselves technologically to access them. So I can be contacted. An organization insisted that they cannot send their students here because they have volume of responsibility. They contacted us if we can come there, send some of our staff team to run a short-term mission for them. And we agreed. We are sending 4 of them there to run a short-term mission for them in May. And we are going to be doing it consistently such that what they are supposed to come and learn, we pass it to them there. So there are areas of collaborations. We have what we call the Network of African Mission Leaders, some of like-minded people here and there that are ready to collaborate so that we can advance the work of missions.
That's amazing. And I'm happy that you've mentioned churches because a missionary who feels called and they want to go to the mission field will most likely get training. But we have churches that send people. If you are to speak to the churches today, how do you speak to the churches in terms of investing in training the people that they send? What would you say to them?
Yeah, we emphasize. I tell them the reality. I'm a product of seminary. I went to seminary so that I can demystify. I want to have an understanding of their concept of missions and a number of other contributions of knowledge that will help me better to do the work I am doing. I can tell you that the curriculum was so weak. It was so weak that it never addressed serious issues on missions. At a point, I confronted my lecturer. I said, please, can you even define missions for us from a practical point of view that we will understand and build whatever knowledge we are? I said, Andrew, you are too much in a hurry. Can I tell you that until we finish the course, he never defined mission? This is a well-respected, I wouldn't mention the name, it's a well-respected seminary. It's respected all over the world. But their emphasis on mission is so weak. I mean, no, we spent one whole week arguing. Why are you praying that Jesus will take control? Has Jesus ever lost control? Those things does not have relevance to missions. And we enjoy the argument. Sometimes I doze up in the class because that's not what took me there. But the honest truth is that as good as seminary is, it does not address the issue of missions properly. And we thank God there have been emphasis for them, for seminaries, theological organizations, to also integrate some missions, real mission curriculum into their training. Whether they will accept it or not is a different thing entirely.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Andrew. It's nice to hear your emphasis on training and on collaboration and how people can contact you. We are going to put Dr. Andrew's contact in the comment section so that if you want to reach out to him, you can just check out the comments and you'll find his contacts there. If you had, I would like to ask for a final remark, Dr. Andrew, for our viewers today. A final word as we come to the end of this chat.
A final word.
A final word. If you are to speak to the African church.
Honestly speaking, we are approaching the end of time more than ever before. And if there be any time, we must take the issue of mission training serious so that we can maximize results. It is now. Otherwise, we see ourselves struggling on the mission field without getting the desired result. And Jesus said, I must do the work of him that sent me now that it is day, because the night is coming when man shall walk no more. So I want to encourage the entire body of Christ in Africa and the whole world. Let's take mission training serious. If Jesus took it serious, we must. Matthew chapter 4, verse 19, he said, come follow me, and I will make. That process of making, that is the process of mission training. I will make you fishers of men. He took time to make the disciple, not just to send them out. So we must follow the pattern of Jesus Christ. It's enough for a disciple to be like his master. Let's do what Jesus did, and we will get the result that Jesus got in his time. Thank you very much.